Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our visiting professor program. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our visiting professor program. I hope you had a refreshing break.
Maaf ya karena ada kesalahan sistem, mungkin karena habis makan ayam tadi agak belibet jadi lidahnya. Sebelumnya mau nanya nih, kalian udah pada makan belum? Udah kenyang? Belum, itu masih ada minum kan? Nanti biar kenyang sendiri dia tuh, kembung jadinya. Karena udah kenyang, udah bisa kan menyerap materi baru dari second speaker kita. Mana suaranya? Bisa?
Belum makan ya?
Coba lebih kuat lagi, bisa?
Bisa.
Oke, bisa. Jangan ada yang ngantuk ya. Tengok satu-satu nanti kalau ada yang ngantuk. Jadi udah pada ready kan kita masuk ke sesi kedua? Mana suaranya? Ready nggak? Ready. Oke, Bang, lanjut.
Okay, we are now ready to continue our visiting professor program. Next, we will begin our second presentation from Dr. Nur Azimah Khalid. And Dr. Nur Azimah Khalid, the time is yours. Please give applause for Dr. Nur Azimah Khalid.
Assalamualaikum and very good evening, I would say. Thank you to Mr. Bambang. He is one of the inbound students for our college last time. And I was mentioned that all the inbound students from STEMIC Royal has now become celebrity in STEMIC Royal. Is it true? So the celebrities are there as well. All right. So thank you, Ms. Jihan, as well for introducing me, and I would like to take this opportunity before I proceed with a thank you to all, especially to Ms. Ricky for inviting me for this session, and also for all participants, students, and also docent from STEMIC Royal. Thank you very much. So the topic given to me is Empowering Tomorrow's Technology, Exploring WSN, Wireless Sensor Network. But let me introduce myself first. I came here with Professor T.S. Dr. Haryani Harun, my assistant vice chancellor that you already met this morning, right? So I am also a lecturer in College of Computing, Informatics and Mathematics, or KPPIM, UiTM Shah Alam, Malaysia. All right. From a department, and that department is called Center of Networking, Computer Networking. And a part of that, I'm also the international officer, liaison officer for KPPIM. So as a liaison officer, I'm the one who in charge of student mobility. Okay. If you are interested to go to KPPIM, so I'm the one who will handle and help you, hopefully, inshallah. And also if we have students to go to STEMIC Royal or other places, so they will go through me as well. All right. So far, let me tell a little bit about student mobility first, because I have started with my post just now as LO. So in KPPIM, we have students from Indonesia, STEMIC Royal. We have from USU. You know USU? USU. USU is Universitas Sumatera Utara. So that is USU. And we also have from from Switzerland. We have students from Switzerland, and we have students from Kazakhstan, IITU, IT International University, Kazakhstan. Morocco as well, and Uzbekistan, and there are some more from Japan, So there are many students. So if you are interested to join KPPIM, please plan now, start from now, and inshallah maybe next year you can join us in October 2024. Yeah, 2024 already. All right. So my name is Dr. Nur Azima Khalid, and I am a senior lecturer in KPPIM. All right, I have introduced my place where I'm from, UITM Shah Alam. All right. So you have a session with Prof this morning. So hopefully you will not compare the section from Prof and me, because I will do something different, which is if Prof give you pantun, I don't have pantun for you. Okay. If you give Prof question, I will ask question to you. Okay, it will be the other way around. All right, so that would be the differences that we will have. Okay, empowering tomorrow's technology, exploring WSN. Just a little bit before I start, just now I talked to Miss Ricky, Miss Kiki, we call her Miss Kiki, and she informed me that docent from system engineering is very great because they win a lot of competition, and there are many projects that has been patented, so you already have patent for that. All right. So maybe this sharing is like a sharing. Yeah, I believe there are many expertise from your system engineering as well. Right? So today we will be looking at empowering tomorrow's technology. What is tomorrow's technology? So here we are trying to represent that tomorrow's technology as a smart home. You are familiar with that term, smart home, intelligent city, this kind of word, right? And we are exploring one of the network that is very much related to that future, is having a smart city or intelligent city, right? Okay, all right. It's not working. Alright, my presentation outline will consist of introduction, wireless network,
Berarti dari sini berarti lah ya. Berarti dari komentar itu nggak bisa. Karena tadi kita mungkin dalam kondisi share screen kan, berarti kan kita buka zoom ya. Iya. Kalau tadi kita extend, ya udah kita buka di sini yang kita AI, PT yang kecil tadi, yang kontrol layar kontrol. Itu kan ekstensi. Tapi gitu kan, makanya tadi kita extend. Klik kan? Maksudnya, ulangi lagi ini. Sebelum. Oh, di play. Suaranya. Udah suaranya sih.
All right. So it was a nice video, right? So it's wrap actually what we should cover by today. So I think I can end my session now. All right. So the session ends. All right. So we have looked at that video. So basically, it relates to what we want to see today, which is wireless sensor network. So behind this implementation or execution of smart cities or intelligent cities, there are a lot of networks, wireless network involved. All right. So what is the relation with our topic today is actually when we look at that video and try to relate with the next slide. All right. So we have different types of wireless network. Right? So it could be PAN, personal area network, and you have metropolitan area network. You have WAN, you have wireless LAN, you have wireless sensor network, satellite communication, terrestrial network, wireless ad hoc network, and global area network. So those are types of networks that we will have that support the implementation of smart cities or intelligent city. The one that we are looking at is one of it, which is wireless sensor network. So regardless what type of wireless network that we are looking at, they actually differs in terms of size, in terms of range and connectivity requirements that they have. So our mission today is actually to look at what are the differences that we have, WSN versus other types of network. So we consider other types of network as ad hoc network for today, all right? So for that, let's look at the wireless technology that is related to the wireless network. So you may have Bluetooth, you have Wi-Fi, you have Z-Wave, you have IEEE 802.15.4, example of it is ZigBee, and you have LTE-M, you have NB-IoT, 6box, and LoRaWAN. So those are the protocols that you may use in the network environment. So which one to choose? You have an options. How to choose what are the factors that you will use in your selection is depending on the attribute that you want to apply for your application. So you will be looking at in terms of range, for example. So either you are looking for ZigBee or you want to use the LoRaWAN. So which range your application should cover. So if it covers a longer range, then you might choose to have LoRaWAN instead of ZigBee. Okay, and in terms of throughput, I am trying to compare ZigBee and LoRaWAN over there. So throughput, ZigBee 20 kilobit per second up to 250, while LoRaWAN is 10 kilobit per second up to 50 kilobit per second. So there are differences in terms of range, throughput, power consumption, and also the topology that those technologies support. Right? So if you look at the ZigBee, it supports mesh technology, while the LoRa one, it supports the star topology. So what are topologies? We will be looking at that topology later. Okay, some of you are familiar with this topology, I believe. Topologies. Do you know what topology is? Topology. Jaringan. Ya? Jaringan. It's good that you don't know because we will go to that slide later. Okay, so we will keep that word topology for the later slide. So those are the attributes. And now we are looking and concentrating on wireless sensor network, WSN, our topic for today. So we will try to explore this more so that later at the end of the session or when you are in part 8, you will do your final project in part 8, is it, or part 7? Part 7. So when you come to part 7 and you want to do your final year project, maybe you want to consider WSN as your project scope, right? So WSN, basically, these are the things that you have in that kind of network. You have a large number of sensor nodes, and that sensor nodes are densely deployed. So what is meant by densely deployed? It is deployed in an area condensely. You deploy so many sensor nodes in an area, so they are very occupied. That area will be sensed well by those sensor nodes. So first, large number of sensors. The other one is densely deployed. And what are the function of those sensor nodes? They are meant to sense the environment or condition. Okay, so once they have sent it, what would be the next step? It will send to the base station. So you will just collect information, all the sensors will collect information and condition of that environment, and they just simply send to a base station. So this base station will be collecting all the information. So it depends what the base station wants to do, whether they will analyze it, whether they will proceed for other workstation or base station to proceed with. So it would depend on that. And you have sensor region, the area that you are covering, sensor nodes and base station. All right. So looking at this WSN, we would like now to look at the characteristic of WSN. Okay. So I mentioned to you, we are trying to compare between ad hoc network and WSN. So in here, if you look at this, ad hoc network, expensive, high power consumption and complex. While in sensor nodes, they are low cost, low power and simple sensors. So they are more simpler than the one that we have in other network. For other ad hoc networks, we have smaller coverage range of areas. Okay, but WSN is normally deployed when you want to monitor a larger area. Okay, so that would be the main difference when you ask question which type of network should you choose. Okay, area plays an important role. And monitor control environment for other network, but for WSN, it monitor remote or hostile environment. Okay, so what does that mean? What is hostile environment? Can someone tell me the other word of hostile? Hostile environment? Hostile. Tak nampak ke? Point number 3 under WSN. Hostile environment. Any word that replacing hostile? What is the other word that can replace hostile? So hostile, oh, hard, okay. Hard. Hostile environment. Oh, yes.
Oke, izin dokter. Monitor remote or hostile environments seperti kita menjalankan sebuah double monitor di suatu monitor yang lain. Kurang lebih gitu. Iya.
Alright, we try one more. Thank you, Hat.
Oke, ya dokter.
Okay, hostile environment. What would be the other word to replace that hostile environment? Anyone? Ada. Okay, hostile environment, the other word would be harsh environment, an environment that is difficult for you to access, environment that is difficult for you to monitor, that would be a type of hostile environment. So when your environment is like that, normally you will go for WSN rather than the other type of network. And the other characteristic of WSN, it is fault tolerant and robustness. So for a computer system student, maybe you are familiar with these two words, robustness and also the other one is fault tolerance. There are two terms or characteristic over there. Anyone can remember what fault tolerance is? And one more is robustness. I'm not sure. Pensyarahnya, okay. Request by Miss Kiki. Ayo Pak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Sorry ya, saya bahasa Inggris kurang. Tapi saya jelaskan dengan bahasa Indonesia. Ini adalah fault toleransi dan robustness. Saya fokuskan ke fault toleransi. Fault toleransi ini adalah persentase kesalahan. Nah, persentase kesalahannya misalnya langsung saja ke konsepnya saja. Misalnya, saya kan lagi menang paten nih. Lagi menang hibah paten. Jadi di penelitian saya itu toleransi kesalahannya begini. Saya ceritakan dulu tentang penelitian saya. Saya meneliti tentang bagaimana membaca golongan darah itu. Golongan darah A+, B+, AB+, O+. Jadi kalau dibaca dengan data ADC, analog digital controller, golongan darah A+ itu ranknya adalah 19 sampai 17. Nah, pertanyaannya di mana fault toleransinya? Kesalahannya? Kesalahannya adalah ketika ranknya di antara 20 sampai mungkin 15. Itulah rentang kesalahannya. Atau kalau di mata kuliah di komponen elektronik resistor kan ada warna emas, perak, tanpa warna. Kalau kita lihat itu artinya itulah toleransi kesalahannya. Misalnya 330 ohm, toleransi kesalahan yang dia persentase toleransi yang bisa dia yang bisa dia terima adalah 20% dari nilai resistor tersebut. Mungkin itu aja Bu. Sekian, terima kasih.
Alright. Terima kasih Pak
Ricky.
Pak Ricky. Oh, ramai nama Ricky di sini. Oh, okay. Fault tolerance, the one that you mentioned, Pak Ricky mentioned, is based on his scope of area, right? So it is I would try to explain it in the network area, which is fault tolerance that I can tell you is like you have an option if something bad happened. You have a backup. Okay, so if you have a good backup, then you are fault tolerance, having a high fault tolerance. So it's like if you have a networking problem, if your network is having a high fault tolerance, your network can still going on and working, even though there are part of your network is not working. So in WSN, that is possible because we mentioned it is consists of a large number of network. So if some part of the network is broken, there's no link, there's also always another link for the nodes to send the information to the base station. So by having that environment or that condition, it is considered as a fault tolerance network compared to the others. All right. Anyway, congratulations, Pak Ricky, for your competition, winning the competition.
Thank you.
All right. We go on to the other characteristic of WSN. If you look at intrinsic centralized structure, and for WSN, they have a decentralized structure. So centralized structure is more pre-planned. You have a structure, and that structure is going to the center. Everything is decided by the center. But decentralized structure is more to there's no decision making done by any controller. It is more decentralized. It is possible for nodes, for a base station to make decision, and for the other time, they will make another decision as well. So there's no central controller. It depends on the nature or dynamic of the network. So decentralized and centralized nature of networks. And we have high bandwidth connectivity and low bandwidth connectivity. WSN is considered having a low bandwidth connectivity compared to the other. And the other one is for WSN, they are normally battery powered, but other type of networks, a wireless network, they are electric powered. So what would be the limitation? We will see later as well. Having this battery powered is like you have to rely on that battery. So when the battery is off, the battery is gone, deplete, then you can't do any much more things, right? So that is battery powered characteristic of WSN compared to electric power. So electric power, we mentioned in ad hoc network, other ad hoc network, they are used in more controlled environment and not hostile area. So in that type of environment, you can supply the source of power whenever it need to be recharged compared to the other one. All right. Okay, WSN requirements, again, it requires a large number of nodes. Okay, and low energy battery, because it is supplied by the battery, it is considered as a low powered network. Okay, so everything is based on that battery. So it has a less lifespan compared to other type of networks. So the third one is a network self-organization. So this is relates to the one that we mentioned earlier, which is decentralized structure. So WSN have this requirement. It needs to be able to self-organize. So if there are any problems, there are any factors that affect that network, the decision maker just now will be able to act accordingly. There's no specific decision need to be made every time. So it will change accordingly depending on the condition. Okay. So if something is broken, let's say one node fail, the network have to self-organize to select another node to transfer the data. So if that node fail, so the network will self-organize themselves to select another network to pass the data. That's how it works by self-organization. And collaborative signal processing, we need this requirement because in WSN, they are, the power is very low, and also they are limited sensing capability. So they can't do all tasks by its own. It is a collaborative effort. So if you are sensing an environment, it's not because of one sensor sending to the base station only. It is a collaborative collection of data of that condition in an area that is passed to the base station. Then only the base station can do or decide anything. It's not one information sent to the data and then you get the information you can analyze. No, it is a collective effort from all the sensors. So all sensors work together, all sensors send data to base station, then only you will be able to analyze and make decision based on collected data. Okay, so that is based on that is what collaborative signal processing is. Tak jalan dia. Terlalu jauh. Okay, now we are looking at the sensor node component. If you remember one of the diagram just now, we have one area, sensing range, and in the sensing range, we have large number of nodes. So this slide is actually representing one sensor node. So in a sensor node, these are the components that you will have. Okay, so it consists of power supply, it consists of the sensor itself, right? And it consists of transceiver that receives and transmit the data, memory. Okay, they have a limited memory, so it can't process a lot. You can't have a complex algorithm put in these sensors to process or to save or store information. And microcontroller acts as CPU for the sensor. So what is CPU? What does CPU do? Yeah. It is central processing unit that process change data to information. That would be okay, tarik balik. So you are using the chat GPT. You get new information. So this microprocessor acts as CPU. Okay, I'll ask what CPU is at the end of the session. All right. So act as CPU for the sensor, process information and make decision. And you have another component for in a sensor node, which is GPS, location finding and mobilizer. So GPS, if your application requires you to track the location, then you may have this GPS embedded a part of the sensor node. So it depends on what application that you want to use this sensor for, then you will add in what type of sensors needed for this node. Okay, so sensor in point number 2 is actually could be humidity sensor, it could be temperature sensor, it could be you are checking on the level of air, whether it is polluted or not, oxygen level. So it depends on what you want to measure, then it would be the sensor point number 2. So there is no fixed sensor, it depends on what you want to send. Okay, all right. So knowing the component of sensor node, okay, let's go to this slide, WXN topology. So just now I was asking what topology means. What is topology? So most of you are saying it's rangkaian. So rangkaian, is that the right one? Rangkaian computer. What is computer networking? Rangkaian computer. Rocking? Networking. Networking is rangkaian, betul? Okay. Networking is jaringan. So my topology just now is what is topology? Jaringan, rangkaian, networking. Tadi kawannya cakap networking. Topology is networking, she said, right? Dapat dah? What about the word of arrangement? Topology, can we call, other word for that is arrangement. WSN, arrangement. So topology is actually an arrangement of the node. If you learn about networking before, topology is arrangement of a physical arrangement on how you want to connect devices. Okay, so if you want to arrange it connected to each and every single node, then you might have a mesh topology. So if you want to connect it via central node, then you might have a star topology. Remember that? So in WSN, you also have that. We have the WSN topology, and these are types of WSN topology that is common to WSN. You have centralized, you have extended star, you have mesh, and also decentralized. All right. So centralized is like you have one in the middle who is controlling everything. Everybody is standing to it. It makes decision, and then it will give feedback on what should the nodes do, or it will respond to the query to the sensor node. The sensor node will send query, wants to get some information, some reading, then that central node will give the reading to the that base station will give reading to the sensor node. That is centralized. And extended star, I mentioned about star just now. Star is like you have one at the center, and from that center it will branch out, right? That is star. Extended star is extension of star. So you may have several extension of star. When you have more than one layer of star topology, then you will call it extended star. And mesh topology, we mentioned in LAN, you have that as well, where every single node is connected to each other. So in WSN, every node can sense each other as well. All right. Decentralized, there's no central controller. We talked about self-organization just now. So this is more related to decentralized topology of a WSN. All right. Okay, centralized, extended star, mesh, and decentralized. Why do we need to know about WSN topology? Because again, we go back to the application that you want to apply, you want to do for your project. So it do relate. You need to choose which topology that suits your application. Okay, and you may want to consider if your application is small, it connects several nodes only, then you might want to consider the mesh topology or star topology. But if your network is larger, then that would not be efficient anymore, because you will consume a lot of network consumption for that arrangement. So you may need to go for decentralized, or you may want to extend it using the extended star. All right. So it's like the area, we talk about area just now, and we talk about deployment of nodes. We deploy the nodes. Okay. So it's like if you from here, you want to go somewhere else, which is far away from you. If you want to pass something, you rather run from here to that area, to that destination, or you will pass that parcel to someone in between. Which one would be more, more practical for you? You want to pass a parcel, you have things to pass. Let's say you have this one, you want to give to someone who is at the end of the block. So you want to go by your own and pass it to him, or you will choose to send it to someone next door, and that next door person will pass it to the other person. Which one is appropriate for you, especially if it's hot, for example? Option 1 or option 2? Option 1. Oh, so you rather run and pass it personally to that person. Option 2. Why? Option 2. Were you here this morning? Yeah. Oh, option 2 tadi. Nak teruskan? Pass. Okay, in other words, let's say I want to pass this thing to someone who is at the end of the block, the other block. I don't want to go and pass it to him, especially when the weather is hot. I would rather pass this to someone who is closer to me, and that someone will pass this to another someone who is closer to him. Why? Because it will reduce my energy. I don't want to waste my energy, right? So I will do that. So the same goes for this topology of extended star. Okay, so you want to pass the data that you gather instead of you sending directly to the base station, which is in our example just now, the destination that we want to pass this span, right? So it's better for you to have extended star. You pass to someone at the center, and that person will pass to another one for that group. So that will consume less network compared to sending directly. And in WSN, that topology is common because WSN, we do mention just now, the characteristic is like they are having limited coverage. They have a sensing range, right? So you can't afford to send the data directly to base station in most of the time. So that's why you have this kind of arrangement, this kind of topology in WSN. All right. So in terms of communication-based classification, again, it relates to my energy just now. I was telling you, if I have to pass it by myself to the person next block, so I will waste my time, energy. So in communication-based classification, there are two types. First is single hop, the other one is multiple hop. So single hop is like you not communicate directly to the base station. You go and pass it to him. Okay. Multi-hop, the other one, some nodes cannot directly communicate. It is the limitation of the sensor in sensor node. So that's why you need multi-hop in most of the time. You need what is called a relay nodes. So the one that I mentioned about, I pass this pen to another person, that person is the relay node in WSN. And then that person is passing to another person, that would be the relay node for the next round. So that is how it works, right? So multi-hop, some nodes cannot directly communicate, so the relay nodes might be needed for packet delivery. Okay, so hopefully you can try to link communication-based classification and topology, and also the characteristic of WSN itself. Right? Okay. Next, we would like to see in terms of deployment. So what is deployment? What is deployment? The action macam tu. Peluncuran. Release. Okay. Can you get the word deployment for me? What is deployment in Indonesia? Word. Sebaran. Penyebaran. Okay. Okay. Penyebaran in Malay is like distribution. No, in English it's like distribution of nodes. Yeah, distribution of nodes, deployments of node. Yes, it can. It is similar, kind of similar. So WSN deployment, you have many ways of deploying the nodes just now. You have random deployment, you have regular or well deployment, and you have also mobile sensor nodes. So they again relates to what application that you want to the wireless to be applied to. Okay, so random deployment, we mentioned about hostile just now, harsh environment that is not accessible, example in the jungle. Okay? So you won't go to the jungle and put the sensor accordingly. You will get lost because the jungle is very thick, right? So what you will do is you will do random deployment. So you will normally, some of the cases, you are using airplane to deploy the node randomly. So you just drop the nodes for that area, and the sensor will drop down, and it will randomly distribute it in that area. So that is random deployment. So it is more suitable for harsh environment, harsh network, where difficult for us to go to that area and put and locate the sensors around it. All right. So regular and well deployment is different. Regular and well deployment is more on environment that you can control. You know how it looks, you know where to locate it, you have that in mind already, you have planned for it. So it's a pre-plan. So for that pre-plan, it is also possible for WSN. Okay, so the one that I have for you down there is an image or a picture for a bridge. Okay, so the word of checking the structural health. Okay, it's not only human need to check on the health, but the structure need to be checked on their health as well. So we are trying to check the structural health for the bridge. So what does that mean by structural health? You nak tahu, you wants to know whether the bridge is is cracking, there's any cracks on the bridge, if there is any corrosion, is there any structural defect on the bridge. So you know where to put the sensors, which location is the best, then you pre-plan it, you put it much earlier before you deploy. Alright. And mobile sensor node is additional to the random node or the regular well-planned node, where this mobile sensor node, you are deploying it to assist the monitoring or tracking much better. So having a static implementation on that area is good, but having a mobile assistant is even more better. Because sometimes you can't afford to deploy it using the static, you want to have extra to confirm whether the deployment of node is appropriate or not, whether you can gather as much information that you need or not. So that's why you need to have a mobile deployment as well. All right. So it's like an additional to the static one. Okay, WSN applications. I think among all the characters of WSN, this would be the character that help you in comparing between WSN and other type of networks. Okay, so WSN application, the capability of WSN to function autonomously without internet connectivity is a key feature of WSN. So what does that mean? Before we look at the meaning, it's good for us to look at the application, example of applications. So I have listed here local data processing, isolated environment, closed system, example is industrial environment, and then you have disaster response and environmental research or ecosystem. So those are the time where you may need this WSN. It's okay if you don't have the internet connected to it. How? Let's look at isolated environment, for example. So it's not all the time you want to monitor an area. It could be you want to have the data, and at one time you want to collect the data to analyze further. So you don't need to have the internet connection all the time. So what you will do is you will deploy the WSN randomly or well planned, and those sensors will be sending the information to the base station. Okay, but later you will collect the data and analyze at the base station. Okay, so that is possible. Even that would be the key difference between WSN and if you are thinking about WSN IoT. Yeah, so this would be the one that differentiate them. Okay, WSN application, we are now going to more example of WSN applications. The first one is for air and water monitoring. So you will need to monitor air because you don't want to be in a polluted area. You don't want a pollution, right? Because it will affect your health. You don't want that. So you want to monitor the air. So water monitoring is when you want to check whether the water that you drink is a good water, they have anything dangerous or not. So water monitoring is another example of WSN. And we have this smart agricultural. So this application is very, very common for WSN, especially when you have a very big farm, you have a plantation. So you can't afford to hire human to monitor the plants and the farm. So you will replace with this smart agricultural by using the WSN. You will deploy it. So smart agriculture might might represent the one that we mentioned about well-planned just now, the well-planned deployment, because you will locate the sensors and you know where you locate the sensors at. So in this smart agricultural, if you relate to one of the characteristics, it is not example of hostile area. You can still access it. Yeah. So it depends again depends on the condition. Forest and environmental monitoring and visitors tracking. So they have this forest monitoring, especially in Australia, okay? Because Australia is a place where you normally have bushfire. Have you heard about bushfire? Even Indonesia, you have that as well, right? So in order to prevent that from happen, they will use the WSN for forest monitoring. So they are monitoring the temperature. If temperature is higher than than it is supposed to be, then it will alert someone to do something, or it will the water will come out and make the land more cold, right? And visitors tracking, this is also another important application that you can consider. Why? Because if you can see, recently there are many people, especially visitors, okay? Foreigners who comes to Malaysia or Indonesia, they would like to go for hiking, they would like to explore our natural beauty, okay? Forests, right? So they love to do that. But if you can see, there are statistics of these visitors getting lost. We can't track where the visitors is. And sometimes you may have heard people die, people get a health problem in the park, but no one realized it. So that kind of application is suitable for this type of WSN, for visitors tracking, right? So you can track wherever the person is going. Let's say they go for hiking and suddenly after 6 p.m. in the evening, that visitor did not come back. So you may be able to track where the last location of that visitor using this network. And military, so initially WSN starts with military application where they will deploy the node randomly, okay? They will drop several nodes at an area. So that node, that sensor will sense if there is any movement, if there is anything that is abnormal. So they will report that to the base station, and base station will do something according to the data that it collects. Greenhouse monitoring is kind of related to what we mentioned just now about smart agricultural as well. So again, in here, there are a lot of sensors will involve to help you in monitor and to grow your plant in green environment. Home automation. So most probably this is the one that you normally heard about home automation. You want to automate everything. You want to control and remote monitoring all the appliances at your home. So you can use this WSN for home automation. Okay, I mentioned about one feature which is very important that differentiate WSN to other type of network, which is without internet, it still can function. So here, WSN and the Internet of Things, you might have something, maybe you are confused about WSN deployment and IoT deployment. So the difference would be, you have seen this slide earlier, right? You have sensing region, you have sensor node, and you have base station. Ada tak? Nampak tak tadi? When we talk about WSN, did you see this diagram? Sensing, nampak tak? Did you see that diagram? In the earlier slide? Yang tu. So in the earlier slide, we have sensing region, we have sensor node inside, and we have base station. Nampak tadi? Did you manage to remember this picture before and slides before? So just now we have the same picture actually, but without the internet and user. We only have until the base station. So Internet of Things, relates to WSN when we are connected to the internet for monitoring and detecting the environment or condition just now. Okay, so it's like before this you have WSN, you have until base station. Everything is collected here at the base station. But whenever you connect it to internet, then it is subset. It becomes part of Internet of Things. So what would be the advantages? You can see the user attached to the internet. So this is only one user. What about the diagram next to it? There are so many users here. And many users can attach to data that you have collected, the conditions that you have collected. So from there, you can see that the use of WSN is expanded. Whenever you are connected to the internet, you can do even more things to the collected region. All right, we mentioned about sensor nodes component just now. So those sensor nodes have constraints. So here I listed several constraints of sensor nodes, which includes low data rate and range, limited memory storage, maintenance, power, limited non-rechargeable, especially if you are deploying it at hostile or harsh environment. And then you have low power processor, prone to security threats and also interference. So they are very fragile actually, but they do help, especially in an environment that is harsh and hostile just now. All right. So because of this constraint, it is not a bad thing actually. As a researcher, as a student, as someone who wants to explore more on WSN, these are the scope that you can venture more in the future. So let's say you are looking at prone to security threats, for example. So they are prone to security threats. So that opens the research area for you to explore more on how to secure the sensor nodes in this area. All right. Okay. I have listed here WSN challenges and in terms of sensor nodes constraint. Okay. Let's call someone. Can I have you? Yeah. Can you read the first point under sensor nodes constraint?
Sensor nodes constraints, data aggregation and processing, distribute data processing, employ distribute algorithm for data aggregation and processing to reduce the amount of data transmitted and converts energy. Data aggregation techniques used for combining data from multiple sensors to improve accuracy and reduce redundancy.
Thank you. So there are a few things that I observed since I have the students from STEMIC last time. First is I like your jacket. So everyone have it? Okay. So the one that you guys have previously is brighter color. You have different type of shirt. The blue, another blue. Is it the same? Oh, is it the same? All right. So that's one thing that I realized. Everyone have this kind of jacket. You looks good. You looks good in the jacket. And the other thing is your spirit that you have for each other. You encourage and give support to each other. Your friend is answering it, reading it, and then you give a clap to her. That's a good support that you give. All right. Okay, sensor nodes constraint, your friend have read for us. The first one is data aggregation and processing, and the other one is data aggregation. So distributed data processing is like you don't want to process everything using your limited power consumption, limited power that you have. So you are distributing it. So every station will be able to help you in processing the data, and later each of the sensor, each of the base station will combine back the data and then make a decision based on collected data. So by having that, that is a mechanism that sensors have in this WSN, because they have constraint, right? They have limitation. So that's how it helps each other. Data aggregation, again, is a technique of combining data from multiple sensors to improve accuracy and reduce redundancy. So in terms of data aggregation, we are mentioning that you have distributed data and then you collect that. Collecting the data is a process of data aggregation. And when you aggregate the data, you can help even more the constraint that WSN have by analyzing further. Before you proceed passing the data to another base station, you will check whether the data is redundant or not, whether the data is correct data or abnormal data. You can filter it before you start studying it further. So that is the function of data aggregation. So by doing that, you are helping the network, especially in this WSN network, from consuming more and more energy consumption and network consumption, because you are very, I do mention just now, very fragile, and you are very resource constrained. So you need to occupy and use the resource that you have optimally. So these are the two ways related to sensor node constraint. At the orange part there, you can have a look at it. That are the potential research areas that you can venture in, especially when you try to look for topics for your final year project. So in terms of communication issues, here I mentioned about routing issues. So information systems student. So you are familiar with routing, the word routing? No. All right. What about from here? Are you familiar with the word routing? Yes. So what is routing? Yes. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have.
Routing itu adalah suatu suatu jaringan, suatu komponen yang meneruskan jaringan ke jaringan lainnya.
All right. Can you understand? Okay. What does she mean by that?
Routing itu seperti dia tuh menghubungkan jaringan ke jaringan yang lain begitu. Sama aja. Data. Kayak seperti mengarahkan paket data dari satu titik ke titik yang lain dalam jaringan komputer.
Alright, jaringan tadi. Alright, kalau saya kata routing is like a route or a road, is that sounds okay to you? Does it make sense? Route is like jalan. Boleh kan jalan? So routing is like jalan. So when you have routing, it means that you need to forward your packet using several possible jalan ataupun route. Right? So routing issues in WSN is very critical actually, because you want to pass and transmit data from sensor to base station, but you have a resource constraint. You can't simply do a direct transmission to the base station. So routing needs to be selected appropriately. Which road or which route should you choose, and what are the factors that you need to consider whenever you want to choose a route to transmit the data. So if you look at communication issues related to routing, then you will find plenty of gap in this area. So what is gap? Gap is a lot of potential that you can find regarding these issues of routing. Okay. The routing issues actually determining how data is transmitted from source nodes, you mentioned about source just now, to destination node, which is base station or sink. All right. So you have adaptive routing, you have predefined routing. So predefined, you have defined, okay, this packet should be routed through this way to get to the base station. But for the other type, which is adaptive routing, it could be, okay, this time I want to use this route. The other time I might choose the other route because the other route is more flexible, is more economy to me. Okay, so it is about choices of route that a packet have to send or transmit data from source to destination. All right. Okay, communication model. Again, when you talk about communication issues, you have options of communication model that you can choose. If you choose event-driven communication, it means that you can transmit whenever there is abnormal event occur. You don't transmit all the time, because if you transmit all the time, you are consuming the network a lot, right? Because you have a resource constraint just now, you only transmit data if there is an event. There's an event trigger. So what are example of event triggered? We mentioned about sensor. The sensor is sensing temperature, the one that we talked about bushfire just now. So let's say the temperature exceeds certain temperature threshold. If it exceeds 40, then you have to do something. So if there is an event where the temperature is more than 40, then it is considered as event-driven communication. At that time only, your data will be transmitted to base station. Okay? And time schedule communication is another way. You don't want to transmit whenever event happen, but you want to transmit based on time. You have a scheduled time. So normally you will go for time schedule communication if you already know the pattern of your application just now. At which time you should send data, which is the peak or crucial time, which is normal time. So you will schedule based on time. Then for each of the scheduled time, then only you will transmit the data. Okay? So that is another way the nodes is helping each other using or optimizing their resources. Okay, the other one that we would like to see, security issues. Maybe most of you are interested in this. In our college, this is among a favorite topic or area that the users are looking forward, security issues. So for WSN, we mentioned they are sensing and then sending data. So there have many security issues or threats that are possible in this type of network. So these are the great challenges and the area that you can explore further. Okay. Okay, I would also like to share with you some of the example because we are talking about empowering tomorrow's future and then exploring WSN. So we might not be able to change everything at once. Okay, we don't have that power. Let's say one individual just wants to implement a smart city. You can't do it on your own by oneself, but you can do a little small project okay, as a beginning to support the smart cities or smart or intelligent cities that we have for our future that we mentioned much earlier just now. So these are examples of the things or topics that you can consider. For example, you have forest monitoring using LoRaWAN. We have also smart irrigation system for perennial plant. So perennial plant is like chili plant, okay? So you can use that. So for number 2, smart irrigation system for perennial plant, maybe you don't want to consider a farm or a plantation, but you want to consider something at your backyard, okay? So let's say some of you do plant chilies and then you want to remotely control it. So you can try to implement this type of project for your final year project as a starting. And then smart landscape monitoring system, we do have this one. We have this project of smart landscape monitoring system where the landscape at an area, did you see any landscape in the city? Landscape. It's like flowers and plants planted around nicely. So that one, some places they don't really take care of that. They need human to cut the grass and everything, but they can't afford to hire human that will do that job appropriately or according to time. So what they do is to automate that using smart landscape monitoring system. So the flowers, the plant will be watered using a certain schedule-based watering system. And then you have sensor-based network in server room, trust-based routing for wireless sensor network. We have park visitors tracking system using LoRaWAN, okay? Air quality monitoring, flood navigation system, and IoT-based flash flood detection, and real-time UITM bus monitoring. So these are examples of work that we have worked together with our students, our final year students, where you will most probably will be doing the same when you are in part 7 later. Okay. All right. Okay, this is I think the best part for some of you because someone looks sleepy.
Your name?
Ahmad Fadila. Huh?
Are you sleepy?
No.
Yes, of course. Reading. Stand up, reading.
Conclusion. Exploration of wireless sensor network in bracket WSN is a crucial step towards empowering future technologies. WSN demonstrates immense potential in various fields, open doors to unprecedented possibilities. By overcoming WSN challenge, the potential application of WSN can expand in managing complex systems. The exploration of WSN is instrumental in shaping the future of technology by creating more interconnected, intelligent, and responsive world.
So are you okay now? You're okay now. He looks okay now. All right. So conclusion. I think it's okay for us to conclude the session with this point. The first one is exploration of WSN is a crucial step towards empowering future technologies. All right. So the case that we demonstrate just now, our future would be the smart cities. So WSN is part of it, and it is crucial step towards empowering the implementation of it. And WSN demonstrated immense potential in various fields. We have looked at example of applications, and you can even narrow it down under agricultural, what type of plant that you want to see, because different plant will have different requirements, right? And then W as an open doors to unprecedented possibilities because of its, even there are so many constraints, but because of its characteristic just now, being able to deploy in harsh environment, for example, they have a huge potentials there. By overcoming WSN challenges, the potential application of WSN can expand in managing complex systems. Okay? And the exploration of WSN is instrumental in shaping the future technology by creating a more interconnected, intelligent, and responsive world. All right, that is the conclusion for this slide. And maybe in terms of execution or the real implementation that you can think of, especially when yesterday we had a ride around Kisaran area. There seems to be a lot of things that students from STEMIC Royal can do. I was thinking about parking system and all, but when I heard some feedbacks, I think you are okay with the traffic and parking system here. Nobody complains, right? Yeah, so that will not be the crucial or priority of this area at this time, right? But the other thing is potential is in terms of agricultural. You have a lot of plantation here. Do you know that Kisaran have a lot of plants? I mean farm, plantation, right? So that is a potential for you students here to explore more on that in terms of smart agricultural and so on. It seems that there are you guys have a very good future in improving the Kisaran itself to be a smart city that we have shown just now, right? Parking system, okay, you don't want parking system, everybody is okay, then you go for agricultural. Implement small scale IoT internet, and then plantation WSN control monitoring the plantation, right? And the other thing, I think that will be the two things that I can see that you can help in building up Kisaran into smart cities. All right. So so there are a lot of potentials of WSN that you can explore to make the future technologies of smart cities of Kisaran, inshallah, one day. All right. Do you know that most of people, they have limit of listening to other people's talk? What is the duration of listening to other people's talk? How long can you stand hearing people talking? One minute? Huh? So it's actually, ada jawapan. Okay, so your friend is saying it depends on what people is talking about. So if someone is talking something interesting, maybe you can listen longer. Yeah, something that interests you more, then you can hear longer, listen to that person longer. Yes, there may be several factors that influence it, but in average, the one that I have read is 45 minutes. So I think we have exceed 45 minutes or not yet? Yes. All right. So I think it's time for me to make a move, and it's time for me to stop the presentation. Anyway, I really hope that you get something from this set. All right. Not many, maybe 3 points that you can think of about exploring further in terms or in the area of wireless sensor network. All right. Okay. Yeah, I see just now I want to ask you question instead you asking me question, right? So what was my question just now? The one that I said I will KIV until the end. Tak ingat. about topology tadi kan, and I already explained it, but now I just want to confirm whether you are aware of it. What is the word that you can use to replace the word topology in networks? Anyone? Okay. I just know topology is network circuit. Sequence. Right. Topology, apa perkataan yang saya bagi tadi untuk topology? Start with A. Start with the letter A. Yes, I heard someone saying again. Macam mana jadi interconnected pula? Tadi I heard you saying a word starting with A. Tak ada. A-R R-A N G. Yes. Alright. So topology or arrangement. Okay, I think it's enough for me for this session, and I would like to pass back to the MC. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much to Dr. Azimah Khalid for the informative and interesting presentation. I keep on hoping that someday Kisaran City will become a smart city and will be the part of the plan for the smart city someday. And it's time for you, the participants. It's time to question and answer maybe. Will be held for more 15 minutes. Is there any questions for all of you? Any questions? Yang tadi belum sempat nanya mungkin boleh nanya di sesi kali ini. Boleh tunjuk tangan?
Any question from the participant? Oh, okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jadi Bu, yang ingin saya tanyakan tentang smart city di Malaysia. Jadi gini, kalau di Malaysia itu penduduknya apakah mendukung smart city? Contoh, saya tadi perhatikan video animasi kan, ketika ada orang langsung lampunya menyala, ya kan? Atau saya lihat tadi ada beberapa penggunaan energi terbarukan seperti panel surya. Apakah di Malaysia ketika smart city itu diterapkan, masyarakatnya menjaga atau tidak smart city itu? Itu mungkin itu saja. Terima kasih.
Maaf Pak, masyarakatnya apa?
Menjaga, ya melindungi fasilitas smart city tersebut.
Okay. If you are talking about in Malaysia area, I'm not sure whether I can represent a specific city to illustrate your question, but masyarakat menjaga. Okay, I think it depends on the community in certain area as well. It is not implement and everyone will agree to it and will follow whatever has been prepared for the community. You can see if in some area, in something, there are things that are not followed. For example, if you have If you have the bicycle that you give to the community area, you can see someone is not parking appropriately. Some people is parking at the place. But I do believe that everyone is towards it. So everyone is trying to put an effort to make sure that whatever is provided to them is taken care of. Did you get it? Yeah. Because in Indonesia, for example, okay, thank you very much because she is giving me an example of the things that I can elaborate further, which is if in terms of solar just now, yes, there are a lot of use of solar for the plantation, especially in the area of Pahang, east of Malaysia. And for that kind of environment and that kind of application, everything is taken care of, you can see it. So maybe it depends again on the application. If it is some application that is not easily accessed, for example, the solar panel at the plantation, it will be safe. But for some application which is more accessible, there need to be awareness given to the community in a regular basis, continuously. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, the next question. Any question from the participant? Or for the lecture? Boleh juga kalau mau nanya. Boleh. Iya. Any question? Dari orang abang ada? Oh, oke.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask. And my question is, in case there a problem with the data being sent to the center, what should we do to solve the problem? Thank you.
If there is a problem, data sent to the sensor, what should we do? Okay, again, if you are looking at the WSN just now, the sensor is sending data, and then all the sense data, we have tried to show you one of example of how the sensor network where you have aggregation process, if you can remember. So in that phase, the sensor will be able to filter and confirm the data before they forward further to the base station. So let's say they have filtered the data and the data is sent to the base station, okay, still being sent to the base station, and there is error figure out at the base station. So what will be done is it depends on the application whether the data should be re-requested again from the sensor, okay, to send back the data, or if the data is not crucial enough, it can provide some kind of decision making, then it will proceed for another decision making. So it depends whether the data that is having error is a
Check. Okay, we will go to the next question. Any question from the participant? Okay, for the
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nurul Azuma. I'm from Information System 3A. My question is, how a city can be said to be smart cities? What things can make sure there is smart cities? Thank you.
What is what?
How a city can be said to be a smart cities?
Okay.
And what things can make sure there is smart cities?
All right. I think that would be possible if I can go to the previous slide. Do I have that? Oh no, I don't have that. Okay. What can a city be considered as a smart city? A smart city, one of the requirement is, like we mentioned, about the communication, about the technology. So if the city can be controlled and remotely managed using the communication, I mean using your smartphone, using other applications, then it is part of the things that can represent a smart city, where you can replace all the manual things with digital and technology. So in a city, there are many components, and every component can be digitized and be controlled remotely. Then it is representing a smart city. It's just that when we have a smart city, we need to include in the security aspects as well, not only allowing and monitoring online, but also in terms of elements of the safety of the information as well. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. And we will go to the next question. And this is last question. Any question from the participant? Any question? The last question. Any question? Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fairuz Furqan. I from Computer System 3A. My question: what is the role of wireless sensor network in supporting the Internet of Things or IoT concept, and how are they interconnected? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So what is the function? What is the contribution of WSN to the smart city, is it? To IoT, okay. There's one slide that we showed just now, where one is WSN itself, consisting of sensing area, where there are several nodes deployed in that area, and then you have a base station. That is the basic construction of WSN. And when you ask what is the relation of WSN to IoT, it is when that base station is connected to the internet, and that information can be accessible by all other users. So there could be a lot of users that can monitor it remotely. So the area that I showed just now could represent an agricultural area, it could present a disaster area, it could present a forest. So the sensing area might differ, but when you connect that area to a base station for collection of data, and you connect that base station to the internet for the user to access from remotely, then it become or construct the connection between WSN and also IoT. So you can have a lot of connection over there. It depends on what type of application, right? So let's say the sensing circle is agricultural. The next one is another area of sensing, which is maybe forest. So the expansion of WSN will help in the application of IoT as well. They will work together in enhancing the future of a smart city. All right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your answer. And it's the last questions, which means all of you whoever asked before, like, pada para penanya, silahkan maju ke depan untuk mengambil pembagian hadiah dan juga pengambilan foto. Kepada 3 penanya, silahkan maju ke depan.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of our visiting professor program. Before we close the program, we would like to say thank you to all the presenters for the great presentation. We really honored and pleased to have you today with us, and to the audience, thank you for your active participation.
If there are any mistakes and shortcomings that occur during the visiting professor program, we, as the moderator, apologize profusely. Thank you for your attention and see you next time. I'll return the opportunity to the MC.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Ms. Jihan and Mr. Bambang. Okay, once again, give applause to our speakers and our moderator. Let's conclude this session with gratitude to our speaker for sharing highly informative knowledge. May the knowledge gain serve as a valuable asset for us.
To all participants, next we will have with the end of session 2, visiting professor, we come to the end of our event today. A hug thank you yang berbahagia Profesor Teknologis Dr. Haryani Haron and Dr. Nur Azimah Khalid, and thank you to all our participants. for attending today visiting professor. We ask presenter today apologize for all the shortcomings and mistakes.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Untuk seluruh peserta kami persilakan untuk meninggalkan ruangan acara. Terima kasih, sampai jumpa pada pelaksanaan webinar atau seminar selanjutnya.